So today I'm doing my December TBR, all the books that I plan on reading during the month of December. And I think there's about 12 of them or so, so stick around to see what they are. Well, hey friends, Roger here. Welcome to my channel, Roger's Reads. So first off, you might notice my setup is a little bit different today. I actually pulled out my camera, all set to record, and realized that both of my camera batteries were dead. So good thing I decided not to go on a photo safari today. So instead, I'm recording on my phone, so we'll see how this turns out. So every Christmas holiday season, I have a few favorite gay Christmas feel-good romances that I like to reread, and I tend to reread those every year. But this year I decided to mix it up a little bit and instead read 3 or 4 new ones. And I've had a few in my TBR for a while, and this year I'm going to finally get to them. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So the first one that I chose is entitled Merry Christmas, Mr. Miggles. And I think that's by Eli Easton. So this is a gay contemporary that follows our main character, Toby Kincaid, who is a junior librarian, and is kind of sweet on the head librarian, Mr. Miggles, or Sean Miggles, who's, I think he's about 10 years older than him, maybe less. So Toby wants to get closer to Sean, but Sean keeps a distance, and there's kind of a darkness about him, as though he's gone through something very painful or horrendous in his past. And then Sean is accused of a crime that he did not commit, and strangely just gives up. So then it's up to Toby to save Mr. Miggles, and in order to do it, he might have to cover some of that darkness in Sean's past. So it sounds like a fun read, so I'm looking forward to getting to this one. So the next book I'm reading is entitled The Winter Spirit by Indra Vaughn. So this one has been on my TBR for a while. And you know, I love a holiday romance, especially when there's a ghost involved. Actually, there's a TV show that I tend to watch every year, a movie. I think it's called The Spirit of Christmas, or The Christmas Spirit, about a woman realtor who shows up at an old house that she wants to sell, and of course the place is haunted. But I digress. So this book, The Winter Spirit, follows a man named Nathan who runs a haunted B&B. Now the problem is that Nathan is living with a ghost named Gabrielle who thinks that he's kind of a Cupid and loves to play matchmaker. Well, as it turns out, there is a reason for Gabriel's matchmaking. The ghost has to make romance happen in order to earn his right to move on to wherever it is souls move on to. Now the curse happens to be reaching its expiration date, and Gabriel needs to make a final match this Christmas, and without it, nothing but darkness will await him. And so far, the matchmaking is not looking very good. So another fun, ghostly holiday romance. And the last holiday romance that I plan on reading is entitled Ben's Bakery by Penelope Peters. Now this is actually a Hanukkah story that follows a former ice hockey star, Adam Bernard, who has spent the last 10 years caring for his ailing father and coaching his Pee-wee hockey team. So when his team is invited to a prestigious tournament in Boston, and that is during the week of Hanukkah, he still can't find it in his heart to tell them no, because he doesn't want to let the little guys down. So even though Adam hates the idea of leaving his dad alone during the holidays, but a promise is a promise. So at some point he meets a guy named Ben, and almost once Olympic hopeful, who started up a kosher-style bakery 3 years ago, I do believe. A bakery that's also 1 month away from bankruptcy. So Ben brings his team of preteens into the bakery, and the two men meet. But Adam resists the man's charms because, after all, his life is back in Montreal with his father and with his team. So when Adam gets an offer from the NHL, it's a chance for both men to rewrite their histories. But Ben hasn't been entirely truthful with Adam, and Adam's got some prejudices that might extinguish what's burning between them. And I guess there's a few other issues between them as well that I don't know about. But this does sound like an enjoyable holiday read and something that I would enjoy. So the next book, which probably not be a very enjoyable holiday read, is entitled Boy Shattered by Eli Easton. So I purchased this book a while ago, and I finally want to get around to reading it this month. Now, I don't know too much about this, except that it's a really hard-hitting gay contemporary that revolves around, I do believe, a high school shooting. And from what I can gather, one boy rushes into gunfire to save the other, and sort of a relationship then develops between the two of them. But the horror of the high school shooting is not quite over yet. I don't know if there's going to be more events happening or not. So this is really not a light and fluffy holiday read. But then again, I'm not always a light and fluffy read type of guy. So I do have a couple of fluffy books on my TBR and a few hard hitters as well. So the next book, speaking of hard hitters, is entitled Possession, written by Katie Lau. Now, this is an arc that is to be released in January. And in this story, 10 years have passed since Hannah's husband, who was brutally murdered in their home, and she has conveniently forgotten about it. Doesn't remember a thing about that night, has some sort of amnesia, I guess. So a stranger is accused of a crime and has been locked up for life. Subsequently, Hannah and her 60-year-old daughter left town. They moved away. Now, there's a true crime podcast, and I do love books surrounding true crime podcasts. So there's this true crime podcast called Conviction that's turned its attention to this murder. Now, the podcast is known for getting cases reopened and getting verdicts overturned. They claim that the police framed an innocent man, and Hannah has a lot more dark secrets than just memory loss here. So Hannah then begins to lose the trust of everyone around her, and she is supposedly harboring a dark secret. So what that is remains to be seen. So the synopsis of this sucked me
right in, so you all may be seeing this shortly on the Thriller Thursday video.
So the next book on my list is kind of another romancy type of book, and it's called You Have a Match by Emma Lord. Now, this is another arc by the author of A Tweet Cute and follows our main character, Abby, who signs up for a DNA service. You know those DNA services like Ancestry.com, who can tell you what your ancestry is, what your nationalities are, etc. So Abby, our main character, is quite surprised to learn that she has an older sister who is a well-known Instagram star named Savannah Tully, aka Savvy. So the two girls decide to meet up at summer camp and figure out why Abby's parents gave Savvy away for adoption. I think there's only like a year or a year and a half between them. Now, among the many complications that they face together, they learn that their parents have a secret that threatens to unravel everything. So this sounds like a fun contemporary that really piqued my interest. So the next book I'm going to read in December, another romancy book, is entitled Better Be Sure by Anita Sunday and Andy Gallo. So this is the first book in the Harrison Campus series, and I've already read the third one and the second one. Yes, totally out of order, though they can be read as standalones. So this is also an LGBT contemporary and follows Jackson Murphy, who takes a bet and brings a guy named Ed to the fraternity formal. So I think he does this only because of the bet, so I guess it's kind of a fake dating thing, and that's really all I know about this book. And fake dating, that's all I need to know because I love that trope. But I also have loved everything this duo has written, and I really enjoyed the first two books in this series, so I'm sure I'll enjoy this one as well. I'm also a huge fan of Anita Sunday. I think I've read pretty much of everything she's written, so there you are. So next book I plan on reading this month is a book entitled Secret Admirer by D.J. Jameson. And yes, this is another gay contemporary novel. And as you can tell, there are quite a few of them this month. And that's because I just rejoined Kindle Unlimited. And I got a super good deal on it, like $9 for 6 months or something like that. So I thought I'd give it a go. And there are actually quite a few books on my TBR that are under Kindle Unlimited. So I thought, well, I might as well knock a few of those off. And then see 6 months from now if I want to continue on with this service. So this book, all I know about it is that it's about a guy who falls for his best friend's brother, and he begins sending anonymous gifts or notes to his secret crush, but doesn't let on who he is, especially given that he's supposed to be straight. So I assume that eventually he'll come clean and let the boy know who he really is. So sounds like a fun read and like something I enjoy. So the next book is entitled Here the Whole Time by Vitor Martins. So this is an advanced reader copy that I received. And the blurb describes this as a body-positive young adult love story between two boys who have to spend 15 days living with each other over school break. And one of the boys, Felipe, is a lifelong crush of the other boy, Kyle. Now, Felipe gets teased relentlessly at school because of his weight and was looking forward to 15 days of a quiet time away from school and away from other kids. So things then get a little out of hand when Felipe's mother informs him that Kyle, the neighborhood kid from apartment 57 and the object of Felipe's secret crush, will be spending the next 15 days with them while his parents are on vacation. So Felipe is not at all happy about the news and is kind of forced to dive headfirst into every unresolved issue he has had with himself, and maybe, just maybe, may manage to win Kale over as well. We shall see. So the next book that I plan on reading is a book entitled This Time Next Year by Sophia Cousins. And this is actually a Book of the Month Club selection. It was November's Book of the Month Club selection. And it's the only physical book that I'm reading this month. But of course, I don't have it with me. I left it in the other room. So anyway, the story follows Minnie, who meets Quinn at a New Year's Eve party. They learn, strangely enough, that they were both born at the same place at the same time on New Year's Eve. Sounds interesting already. Besides that, the two of them really don't have anything in common. He's kind of a privileged party boy, and she is a hard-working realist. But strangely, these two keep bumping into each other, and every time they meet, something pushes their lives in the right direction. So maybe they don't clash quite as much as they thought. And the penultimate book that I hope to be reading this month in December, hopefully, is entitled Holidays by Christina Lauren. And I've read some of her work and I've really enjoyed it. Now, this is December's Book of the Month Club selection that I just ordered, so I haven't received it yet. So hopefully I will get it soon, so I have time to read it before the end of the month. So what I know about this book is that it's kind of a Groundhog Day-ish story that follows our main character, May Jones, who finds herself reliving the same semi-catastrophic holiday trip over and over, a trip that she takes with her family and friends, and she relives it over and over and over again. So apparently the powers that be are sending her back for a reason. So it's up to her to figure out what the reason is or what she's supposed to be learning from this situation. And from what I understand, some of her decisions make things even worse. So it sounds like a fun story. And the last book that I'm going to be reading is entitled 6 Months Later by Natalie Richards. So as many of you know, I love mind-bending parallel universe tales with themes surrounding memory and memory loss. So this sounded right up my alley. So the story follows our main character, Chloe, who falls asleep one afternoon in study hall. It's the middle of May, and she wakes up. It is November, 6 months later, and she can remember nothing about the past 6 months. But that's not all. Her life now is completely different than it was before. Where before she was kind of a so-so student, now she's at the top of her class and is being sought after by Ivy League schools. She's also now dating Blake, the most popular jock guy in school, someone to whom she's barely spoken 2 words to over the years. And and her best friend, Mags, I think her name is no longer speaking to her, and she has no idea why. Sounds intriguing, no? Well, adding this to my TBR, it's kind of cheating because I did read this yesterday, actually. I sat down and read the whole thing, and let me tell you, I loved it. But given that this is a TBR, not a wrap-up, I shan't say any more about it at the moment, but I will be talking about this in an upcoming video. And I also have a couple of secret books that I may get to this month if I finish these 12 books. So we'll see how it goes. So that is it for my December TBR. What are you going to be reading? Let me know in the comments. And as always, I thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your support. And I will talk to you all in the next video. Roger and out.